The transport ships descended through Earth's atmosphere like massive silver tears falling from heaven. Captain Sarah Martinez stood among the crowd in Central Processing Square, her daughter Emma's small hand clutched tightly in hers. Around them, thousands of other parents waited with their children, some excited, most anxious. "Mommy, will I really get to see the stars?" Emma asked, her 8-year-old eyes wide with wonder. Sarah forced a smile. "Yes, sweetheart. You'll see things I can only dream about." The Dominion officials moved through the crowd with practiced efficiency. They were tall, elegant beings with skin that shimmered like oil on water. For 2 generations, humanity had lived under their rule. They called it protection. They called it partnership. But Sarah had been a soldier once, before the Dominion came, and she knew occupation when she saw it. "Candidate 2847, an official called out, reading from a holographic display. "Emma Martinez." Sarah's heart clenched. She knelt down, gripping her daughter's shoulders. "Remember, baby. Remember you're strong. Remember Mommy loves you." Emma hugged her tight. "It's only for a year, right? Then I come home." Of course, Sarah lied because that's what the Dominion told them. Educational integration. Cultural exchange. Opportunities beyond imagination. She watched Emma join the line of children boarding the ship. 2,847 children from Earth's northern territories alone. Her daughter turned back once, waving. Sarah waved back until the transport doors closed. 3 months passed like a slow death. Sarah received 2 official messages. Both said the same thing: your child is adapting well to their new environment. No details. No pictures. No voice recordings. Then came the day that changed everything. A small cargo hauler appeared in Earth's orbit, damaged and leaking atmosphere. Inside they found Subcommander Thelnax, a mid-level Dominion officer, barely alive. He was different from other Dominion officials. His skin had lost its shimmer. His eyes held something Sarah recognized from her military days: guilt. "I cannot stay silent," he whispered in the medical facility, his words translated by machines. "What they do to your young ones, it is wrong." Sarah was brought to his bedside along with other parents from the selection committee. "The educational programs," Thelnax coughed, his body failing. "They're not real. The children are taken to processing facilities. They're neural tissue. The Dominion uses it to create bioprocessors for our technology. Human brains are uniquely adaptable. One child can produce enough material for 20 advanced systems." The room went silent. Then someone screamed. Then everyone screamed. "They harvest them like crops," Thelnax continued, tears running down his alien face. "I transported 3 shipments before I understood what the cargo truly was. I tried to stop it. They destroyed my ship, but I escaped. You must know the truth." Sarah felt something break inside her chest. Not her heart. That would have been mercy. No, something else broke. Something that had kept her human, kept her civilized, kept her believing in rules and laws and proper channels. "How many?" she asked, her voice cold as winter steel. "From Earth alone? Over 40 years? More than 180,000 of your offspring." The parents erupted in rage and grief. But Sarah stood perfectly still. Her military training kicked in. Emotion was the enemy now. Emotion clouded judgment. She walked out of that medical facility a different person. She made calls to old friends, soldiers who had hidden their weapons when the Dominion ordered disarmament. She contacted humans working in Dominion facilities across a dozen worlds. She began planning. 2 weeks later, Sarah stood before 500 people in an abandoned subway tunnel. All of them had lost children to the harvest. "They think they know humanity," she said, her voice echoing off concrete walls. "They've seen us bow. They've seen us smile. They've seen us serve. Now they're going to see something different. Now they see what humans become when you take everything from us." The war was coming. And humanity would teach the galaxy what monsters really looked like. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility that officially didn't exist, Sarah Martinez stood before a massive steel door. Her hand pressed against the scanner, and ancient mechanisms groaned to life. The door opened, revealing what humanity had hidden from the Dominion for 23 years. Weapons. Thousands of them. Railguns, plasma charges, tactical nuclear devices, and something more valuable than any bomb: knowledge. Engineers who remembered how to build warships. Soldiers who remembered how to kill efficiently. Scientists who had spent 2 decades secretly studying Dominion technology. "Project Remember," said Colonel James Park, a gray-haired man who had been guarding this place since the Dominion's arrival. "We knew this day might come." Sarah walked through the armory, her fingers trailing over cold metal. How many sites like this exist? 17 on Earth. 4 on the Moon. 2 on Mars colony. Park handed her a data tablet. We have approximately 12,000 trained soldiers, 3,500 combat pilots, and 800 ships in various stages of readiness. Nothing compared to the Dominion fleet, but enough to make them bleed. Over the next month, Sarah's network grew like wildfire. Former soldiers emerged from retirement. Engineers left their factory jobs. But the real weapon wasn't soldiers. It was the invisible humans, the ones the Dominion never noticed. Maria Vasquez cleaned floors in the Dominion military headquarters on Proxima Station. Every night, she plugged a small device into waste terminals, copying classified documents. The Dominion never suspected the cleaning woman could read their language, much less steal their secrets. Jun Lee worked as a server in the officers' mess on the battleship Eternal Glory. He listened to every conversation, memorized every complaint about ship maintenance, every mention of patrol routes. The Dominion officers talked freely around servants. After all, what could a simple human do with such information? Dozens of humans in similar positions became Sarah's eyes and ears. They discovered something crucial. The Dominion military hadn't fought a real war in 3 centuries. Their ships were designed to intimidate, not to engage in prolonged combat. Their soldiers trained for parades, not battles. The Empire was a giant with muscles that had forgotten how to fight. Sarah gathered her core team in that underwater facility. 20 people, each representing a different skill. Marcus Webb, former Special Forces. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, bioweapons specialist. Dmitry Volkov, ship engineer. And others, all bound by the same loss, the same rage, carefully controlled and focused. Our first target is Calith Prime, Sarah announced, projecting a hologram of a massive facility. The Biological Processing Center. According to our intelligence, this is where they took our children. Some may still be alive. Marcus studied the layout. Security? Heavy automated defenses, but only 200 guards. The Dominion considers medical facilities low-priority targets. No species has ever attacked them before. Until now, Yuki said quietly. They spent 3 weeks planning every detail. The Dominion tracked all human ship movements so they couldn't simply fly there. Instead, they would hijack a Dominion supply vessel. Jun Lee would disable the security systems from inside. Maria would provide the access codes. 50 humans working throughout the Dominion would create distractions, false emergencies, anything to pull attention away from Calith Prime. The night before launch, Sarah visited the children they had rescued from the medical facility on Earth. Emma's friend, Carlos, sat in a wheelchair, his eyes distant. The Dominion had released him when he became unsuitable for processing. His mind was damaged, but he could still speak. They kept us in white rooms, Carlos whispered. Cold rooms. They said we were special. They said we were helping the galaxy. Then they started taking kids away. They never came back. Sarah knelt beside him. How many children are still there? Maybe 100? They keep bringing more from other worlds. Sarah touched his hand gently. We're going to bring them home. 3 days later, 47 humans boarded a hijacked supply ship. The vessel was crewed, patched together, running on stolen fuel. But it was enough. Sarah stood on the bridge, looking at the stars ahead. They wanted to see humanity adapt to their civilization, she said to her crew. Let's show them how well we've adapted. The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, disappearing into the void. Behind them, on 17 worlds, humans stopped pretending to be harmless. The galaxy was about to learn a very old human truth. The most dangerous prey is the kind that hunts back. The supply ship emerged from faster-than-light travel near Calith Prime's orbit. Sarah watched the massive facility grow larger on the viewscreen. It looked like a white flower floating in space, beautiful and sterile. Inside that flower, children were being murdered for their brains. Identification code transmitted, Marcus said from the communication station. They're buying it. The stolen codes worked. The Dominion control tower granted them docking permission without question. Why would they suspect a routine supply delivery? No one had ever attacked a medical facility in 800 years of Empire history. The ship docked smoothly. Sarah and her team moved through the corridors disguised as maintenance workers. The facility was enormous, white walls stretching endlessly. Dominion medical staff passed them without a second glance. Humans were invisible here, just part of the background. Jun Lee had provided detailed maps. The holding cells were in Section 7, deep in the facility's core. The processing labs were in Section 9. Sarah split her team. Marcus would lead 30 soldiers to secure the children. She would take 17 to the labs to destroy the records and equipment. They moved fast. When the first Dominion guard spotted them, Marcus didn't hesitate. A single shot from a human railgun and the guard dropped. Alarms screamed to life throughout the facility. All teams go loud. Sarah shouted into her comm, "We're out of time." What followed was chaos. Dominion security forces rushed toward them, but they were medical guards, not combat soldiers. They had weapons but no real experience using them. Sarah's team had trained for this moment every day for months. Every shot counted. Every movement was precise. Sarah reached the processing labs and her heart nearly stopped. Rows of machines lined the walls, each containing pieces. Neural tissue suspended in glowing fluid. Children's brains, reduced to components, wired into computers. Data screens showed efficiency ratings, processing speeds, installation dates. "Burn it," she whispered. "Burn everything." Her team planted charges throughout the lab. Dr. Yuki worked on the central computer, downloading every file, every record, every piece of evidence. "Sarah, you need to see this," Yuki said, her voice shaking. She turned a screen toward her commander. The database showed numbers. Cold, clinical numbers. 183,741. That was how many human children had been processed over 40 years. The records went back even further, showing the Dominion had done this to 6 other species before humanity. Sarah felt sick. But there was no time for horror. "Download everything and let's move." Marcus's voice crackled over the comm. "We found them. 127 children alive in holding cells. But Sarah, some of them are already prepped for processing. We need medical help now. Get them to the ship. We'll be right behind you." The fighting intensified as they retreated. Dominion reinforcements had arrived, better trained, better equipped. Sarah's team fought through corridor after corridor. She watched Lopez take a plasma blast to the chest. She watched Chin stay behind to hold a doorway so others could escape, knowing she wouldn't survive. 31 of her people died in that facility. 31 humans who would never see Earth again. But they bought time for the children. Sarah was the last to board the ship. A Dominion blast caught her side, burning through her armor. She stumbled onto the bridge, her uniform soaked with blood. "Go. Go now." The ship tore away from the docking port just as the charges detonated. The entire processing section of Calith Prime exploded in a brilliant flash. Decades of research, hundreds of bioprocessors, all destroyed. In the cargo bay, medics worked frantically on the rescued children. Sarah limped down to see them. They were thin, pale, their eyes haunted. But they were alive. A small girl with dark hair looked up at her. "Are you taking us home?" the girl asked. Sarah recognized her from the files. Maya Chin, age 10, scheduled for processing in 2 days. They had saved her just in time. "Yes, sweetheart. We're taking you home." Maya started crying. Then all the children were crying, clutching each other, some laughing through their tears. Sarah sat heavily against a wall, pressing her hand to her wound. Marcus knelt beside her, applying emergency medical foam. "We did it," he said. "This was just the beginning," Sarah replied. "When they find out what we did, they'll come for Earth with everything they have." "Let them come," Marcus said quietly. "We're ready." Sarah closed her eyes, thinking of the 31 who died, the 127 they saved, and the 180,000 they couldn't. The price of innocence was paid in blood. Now the Dominion would learn the cost of taking it. The Dominion's response was swift and brutal. 3 massive fleets converged on human-controlled space, carrying enough firepower to turn planets into glass. Emperor Valdris IX himself appeared on every screen across the galaxy, his shimmering form radiating cold authority. "The human infestation will be cleansed," he declared. "They have demonstrated they cannot be civilized. They will serve as an example to all who would dare challenge Dominion order." But something unexpected happened. As Dominion fleets moved toward Earth, humans struck everywhere at once. On Rigel 7, a human janitor named Thomas Gray walked into the water treatment facility where he had worked for 6 years. He uploaded a virus into the system that shut down water purification for the entire Dominion military base. 3,000 soldiers fell sick within hours. On the cargo hauler Prosperity Wind, human crew members seized control during a shift change. They flew the ship, loaded with military supplies, directly into a Dominion weapons depot. The explosion destroyed enough ammunition to supply an entire fleet. Across 15 worlds, humans who had been invisible for decades suddenly became visible in the worst possible way. They were everywhere. They knew everything. And they were done being quiet. Sarah stood in the command center beneath Earth's surface, watching reports flood in. Her side still ached from Calith Prime, but she couldn't rest. The war had truly begun. The Dominion's 7th Fleet will reach Earth in 4 days, Marcus reported. 200 warships. We have 37 combat-ready vessels. Then we don't fight them in space, Sarah said. We fight them the human way. The Battle of the Arcturus Gate became legendary. Sarah's small fleet didn't try to win. They tried to delay, to damage, to make the Dominion pay for every meter of space. Human ships, smaller and faster, darted between the massive Dominion battleships like wolves around bears. Commander Phillips rammed his frigate into a Dominion cruiser's engine section. Captain Rodriguez held position while her ship was torn apart, buying time for others to target the gate's power core with everything they had. The gate, a massive structure that allowed instant travel across sectors, exploded in a cascade of energy. 80% of the human fleet died. But the gate was destroyed. The Dominion's fastest route to their core worlds was gone. News of the battle spread across the galaxy. Other species, the ones the Dominion called tributaries, watched with quiet interest. The Threxians, who had lost their homeworld to Dominion expansion. The Kellen, forced to mine radioactive materials until their bodies failed. The Voss, whose children were taken as soldiers and never returned. They all watched humanity fight back. On Helios 4, Dominion ground forces learned what human guerrilla warfare meant. They controlled the cities during the day. But at night, humans owned the darkness. Dominion soldiers disappeared from patrols. Supply convoys never reached their destinations. Command centers were sabotaged from within. Lieutenant Craig Snore of the Dominion 4th Army sent a desperate message to High Command: "We are not fighting soldiers. We are fighting ghosts. They are everywhere and nowhere. Request immediate reinforcement or evacuation." But Sarah faced her own crisis. In a captured Dominion facility on Mars, she found evidence that some human cells had targeted civilian populations. A school. A hospital. Places where Dominion families lived. She called an emergency meeting of all Reckoning commanders via secure channel. "We are not them," she said firmly, her face appearing on screens across 20 worlds. "If we start killing civilians, if we become the monsters they claim we are, then we've already lost. We fight military targets. We fight government installations. But we do not murder children. Ever. Anyone who breaks this rule is out." Some argued. Some said the Dominion deserved everything they got. But Sarah's voice carried the weight of Emma's memory. "My daughter died as an innocent. I won't dishonor her by becoming what killed her." The vote was close, but it passed. Humanity would fight with one hand but keep the other clean. Then Dr. Yuki burst into the command center, her face pale. "I intercepted Dominion military communications. They're preparing a biological weapon. Something that targets human DNA specifically. They're going to deploy it on Earth in 3 weeks." The room fell silent. "They're going to sterilize the entire planet," Yuki continued. "Every human will be dead within 72 hours of release." Sarah looked at the star map on the main screen. At the center glowed Dominus Primus, the throne world, home to Emperor Valdris IX. It was the most heavily defended planet in the galaxy. Unbreachable. Untouchable. "Then we have 3 weeks," Sarah said quietly, "to do the impossible." The Dominion flagship Eternal Conquest was a marvel of engineering, 5 kilometers of weaponry and armor. It was also, thanks to June Lee and 37 other human crew members, now under Sarah Martinez's control. The takeover had been surgical. During a routine maintenance cycle, humans throughout the ship had acted simultaneously. Engine rooms secured. Bridge captured. Dominion crew locked in cargo holds. The captain died with a confused expression, never imagining his servants could be warriors. Now Sarah stood on that bridge, surrounded by 500 human fighters crammed into every available space on the massive ship. They were heading straight toward Dominus Primus, the heart of the empire that had murdered their children. "All Dominion vessels are giving us clearance," Marcus reported. "They think we're bringing a report on the human rebellion." "Good," Sarah said. "Let them think that until we're close enough." She recorded a message during the 3-day journey. "Not for the Dominion. For Maya Chin, the girl they had rescued from Calith Prime. I wanted to give you a different world," Sarah spoke into the camera. "A world where children don't disappear. Where humans aren't treated as resources. If I don't come back, Maya, remember that we fought not for revenge but so you could live free. That's worth everything." When Eternal Conquest reached Dominus Primus orbit, the defense fleet surrounded them like a metal cocoon. Hundreds of warships, orbital platforms bristling with weapons, and the planet itself wrapped in defensive shields. Flagship Eternal Conquest, you are cleared for standard orbit, the control tower transmitted. Negative, Sarah replied, switching all channels to broadcast. This is Captain Sarah Martinez of Earth. We are not your flagship anymore. We are your reckoning. She uploaded every file from Calith Prime across every Dominion communication network. Images of the processing labs. Records of 183,000 murdered human children. Evidence of 6 other species harvested before humanity. The cold, clinical reports treating children as livestock. The galaxy watched in horror. Then Sarah opened fire. Eternal Conquest weapons designed to conquer worlds tore into the defense fleet. The humans had studied this ship for 3 days. They knew every system, every weapon, every vulnerability. But they were one ship against hundreds. Plasma fire hammered their shields. Hull breaches opened across multiple decks. Sarah watched her crew die around her as they fought with everything they had. Marcus, take a team to the surface, Sarah ordered. Get to the Imperial Palace. I'll keep them busy. Marcus grabbed 50 soldiers and launched in boarding pods toward the planet. The pods screamed through defensive fire, through the atmosphere, crashing into the palace grounds like meteors. They fought through gardens where Dominion nobility had walked for centuries. Through halls decorated with treasures from 1,000 conquered worlds. The Imperial Guard were elite warriors, but they had never faced humans who had nothing left to lose. Sarah watched from the dying flagship as Marcus's team breached the throne room. She saw the Emperor himself, Valdris IX, standing tall in his ceremonial armor. Your species will be extinct within the week, the Emperor said calmly. This changes nothing. Marcus pointed his weapon at the Emperor's head. One shot. That's all it would take. But Sarah's voice came through his calm, don't kill him, Marcus. We need him alive. Marcus hesitated. Every instinct screamed to pull the trigger. Put him on trial, Sarah continued. Show the galaxy we're better than they are. Show them we choose justice, not murder. Marcus lowered his weapon slowly. You're under arrest for genocide and crimes against sentient life. Throughout the Dominion, something shifted. The broadcast from Calith Prime had reached every world. Tributary species saw the evidence. They saw humans choose justice over revenge. They saw an empire built on horror. The Threxians rose up on their mining colonies. The Kellans seized their orbital stations. The Voss reclaimed their homeworld. The Dominion didn't face one rebellion anymore. It faced 30. Eternal Conquest finally died, breaking apart in orbit. Sarah evacuated with the last survivors, watching the massive ship burn. 5 years later, Sarah stood in a memorial garden on Earth. 183,000 trees, one for each child. Maya Chin stood beside her, now 20 years old, wearing the uniform of the new Terran Federation. The Dominion's gone, Maya said quietly. Most of their species joined the Federation. They say we showed them a better way. Sarah touched a tree with her daughter Emma's name carved into it. We could have become monsters, she said. We were so close. But we chose differently. That choice, Maya, that's what makes us human. Not our ability to fight. Our ability to stop fighting when we've won. Maya took her hand. The children didn't die for nothing. No, Sarah agreed, looking at the forest of memory around them. They gave us something precious. They reminded us who we are. And who we refuse to become. Above them, ships from a dozen species traveled freely through space, building something new. Something built not on conquest, but on the hard lesson that all life is sacred. The galaxy had seen both sides of humanity. And it chose to remember the better one.